All right, welcome. We didn't meet last week, and so it's really nice to be back together to continue this journey through Jewish texts that are about hope and that help bring us hope. And I'm really excited to invite a friend and colleague of mine who I met just this past year through an organization that he and I are both part of that's called Beloved, which really helps support thoughtful Jewish leaders who are thinking outside the box and creating opportunities to connect and grow outside of normative Jewish spaces. So I came to that organization looking to help grow Beloved, and he came to it as well, looking for support in some of the important work that he's doing. Rabbi Ezra Weinberg is a rabbi, ritual musician, and educator dedicated to facilitating and supporting transformative Jewish rituals. He founded Revoice, and Ezra, feel free to put your website into the chat for us if you'd like, so people can check it out. It is a network of resources for Jews going through divorce. Which aims to redefine the communal response to this life stage. He's a native Philadelphian, holds a master's degree in conflict transformation. Reb Ezra officiates weddings and B'nai Mitzvah, and teaches a university course called One God, Three Paths alongside a priest and an imam. And I'm sure he does lots of other things as well. And I'm really excited to welcome him. And join me in the blessing for study, please, as I share my screen for just a moment so that you can all see the words, and then we'll turn things right over to our teacher. We'll join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Blessed is the one whose mitzvot to make our lives holy and who commands us to immerse or to engage in words of Torah. And I'll turn things right over to Rabbi Ezra Weinberg.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Micah. Wow, it's really nice to get this opportunity, and I'll start by just acknowledging that I'm teaching a text today that is that I was trained in teaching from the Pardes Institute of Jewish Studies based in Jerusalem. And they have a center at their institute called the Center for Judaism and Conflict Resolution. So that was very attracted to that. And I find that to be a very hopeful topic, that we have the ability as human beings to resolve conflict. So to me, when Rabbi Micah asked me to come up with a text that brought hope, my work in conflict resolution and conflict transformation is emblematic of a hopeful gesture towards, I think we have some really amazing tools in the Judaism toolbox, and one of them is around conflict. I'll just give a word of introduction before we kind of hit the main topic. As Rabbi Micah said, I am a student of conflict transformation. Have a very tricky relationship to conflict. I just navigated through a bar mitzvah with an ex-wife. So I'm divorced, and I'm also second generation divorced. I actually had two bar mitzvahs because my parents didn't have the tools to work together. So it was a big tikkun, it was a very big healing for me to be able to have one bar mitzvah with my ex-wife for my son. But I realized that Judaism, that the Jewish community doesn't have a real playbook around divorce. We don't have as a communal response. It's still kind of hidden in the taboos, and it's a real opportunity to talk about conflict on the interpersonal level. So that's what motivated me to start Revoice. And that's how I got to meet Rabbi Micah. I put my website in there. Jews get divorce. We get divorced too, but we also get the idea. There's a whole tradition around it. That's not the topic for today. The topic today is conflict transformation. It's kind of the umbrella over many things. Some say we're not doing such a good job in the Jewish community resolving conflict these days. If you look at Israel, for example, or you look at even the United States, and I don't know, I can't speak for Canada, but conflict, conflict, our ability to transform conflict feels like compromised, but it's really a new field. When I went to undergrad in the early 90s, it didn't exist. I had to go to a college where you could invent your own major. Now you can go to, there's dozens and dozens of schools that have peace studies and conflict resolution undergraduate degrees and master's degrees. So that's a new thing. We've realized, wow, it's a good idea to learn how to resolve our differences. It's a good idea to be able to talk to people who you disagree with and find common ground, or at least like understand, appreciate their differences. That's such a, it seems to be a shrinking sector of society that does that. At least that's what I experience from the mainstream medias that report on the news, what's going on in the world. All right, so I'm going to ask, before we jump into today's text, I'm going to put yeah, feel free to use the chat. I'm going to say one word, and I'll invite you to kind of chat a one-word response. Okay? You can go more than once, but we'll do this about 6 times. All right, so I'm going to say the first word, conflict. So it's a one-word response. Yeah. Got resolution. Oh, we got 2 resolutions. Trouble. Yeah. Problem. Great. So I'll just say one of the things, avoid, yes. Tension, right. I'm going to say something I learned in grad school, where conflict is inevitable. You may have heard that there might be a Buddhist equivalent to this. Conflict is inevitable in relationships. Misunderstanding. Conflict is always going to be there in some form or another. Where we have the choice is how we respond to conflict. That is where, yeah. Okay, next one. 2024 elections. Apologize for being US centric for anyone who's not a United States person. Yikes, fear, scary, oy vey. Fascism. Oh, great. All right. Here's another one. No choice, right? No choice. Okay. US Supreme Court. Very scary. Corrupt. Partisan. Appalling. A mess. Great. Israel. Too powerful. Unbelievable. Peace. Genocide. Yeah. Extremism. Struggling. Hopeful. Yeah. Okay. Struggle. Yeah. Divided. Yeah. I can't argue with any of these. I mean, I can argue with all of them, and they also feel very real. So the good news is that for thousands of years, at least in the rabbinic tradition, which goes back to the, around the beginning of the, rabbinic, the compilation of the Mishnah happened in 220 CE, but the rabbinic tradition kind of was 200 years before that. But the rabbinic tradition brought down some really amazing tools for resolving conflict, for being in difficult conversation. And the rabbis, what makes the Talmud and the Mishnah such a powerful work of art and book of literature is that it preserves minority opinions, and it does so in a respectful way, right? Hillel and Shammai, the 2 rabbis who were like at the top of the food chain of the rabbinic tradition, disagreed on everything, and yet their grandchildren got married to each other. They were in relationship. They were family. So I want to look at one text today that really kind of is at the heart of how that rabbinic tradition of we call machloket l'shem shamayim, disagreement for the sake of heaven, which is like such a if we only had that in Congress today, if we only had that in Israel, if we could really disagree for the sake of heaven, and learn each other's points of view and incorporate them into our own, could totally be a paradigm shift. And we have that within our tools. So that's why I know the brainstorm we did was not so hopeful, but I think as a I draw hope from where I see that we have the potential and the abilities. We just have to kind of harness it. And it's in there. It's in our tradition. It's in our genes. It's in our instincts on some level. Even if we have other instincts that are kind of pushing them out of the way, we can pull them back. All right. So here's this is a famous text in Midrash Tehillim, and the Midrash and the kind of the myths of the stories, the extra stories in the Torah. This one's around the Psalms. So I'm going to pull it out. It's called Memtet 49 verses 49. Let me share that. Where is the video? Share screen? How do I do that? I know how to do that. Hold on a second. There it is. Okay, great. All right. We're just going to do it in English because we don't have that much time. Can I get a reader? Who wants to read? No one volunteering?
I see Bob's hand
Thanks,
up.
Bob. Thanks.
I always volunteer. Rabbi Yanai said, the Torah was not given in a clear-cut manner. Rather, on every statement that God said to Moses, he would say 49 reasons. Panim, literally faces. The matter could be pure, and 49 reasons why the matter could be impure. He, Moses, said to him, Master of the universe, when will we know the truth or clarification of the matter? He said to him, Moses, go according to the majority. This is Exodus 23:2. Yeah. If the majority rules it is impure, it is impure. If the majority rules it is pure, it is pure.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Bob. So that's, yeah, God, what is God saying? God is saying, go with the majority, right? Go with the majority. Where's God's authority, right? And so this, okay, well, let's parse this out a little bit. So God, one could say, God intentionally gave us a Torah that's entirely ambiguous. It's not rigid. There's fluid. And we have to, I think what he's saying is we have to look for new ways to understand things. I think that's kind of implicit here. 49 reasons. You have to, it's your job, Moses, to, so I need to fix the camera here. Okay. It's your job to, to listen to the 49 reasons in favor and 49 reasons against. So yeah, what's Moses's impulse here? I'll take some, what's Moses, what's his impulse? Yeah, Bob.
To strike the rock.
Right. Oh, that's what's happening in this week's Parsha, actually. Right. He wants to strike the rock. He wants to know. He wants to know what's going on. Yeah. What else? What else is Moses' impulse here? You think he likes God's response? Micah.
No, yeah, I mean, strike the rock. Bob's leading Torah study this week, so Bob's been studying up on this, but striking the rock here is something like assuming that there's one right answer, right? Moses wants to know, just tell me what, like, he doesn't want to do the work of relationship building. He just wants to know the answer here.
Exactly. And so what's God's response? What's God's response? Say this. I want to hear someone say it in their own words. What does God say to Moses' impulse to like, I want the answer?
Go
Alfred.
out and ask the people,
Oh,
or
right.
go find other opinions.
Yeah, right.
It's not up in heaven.
Not up in heaven, right? He says that a little later. Well, he says that a little, yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Right. Sorry, there isn't just one truth out there in the world, right? It's not just it's not just the liberal way. It's not just the conservative way. There's not one truth. There's multiple realities. There's multiple truths out there, and you're going to have to discover that truth by learning, by talking to people, by building community, by getting people to talk to each other. I mean, it's funny. It's almost a precursor to democracy, right? Really, I mean, some of the values today, they come from the Bible, which is why one of the reasons why it's the all-time bestseller at Barnes and Nobles. Great, yeah, so, and by the way, it's only going to be really successful when people really try and understand opposing positions. That's sort of at the heart of this. We're going to be successful in finding out the truth when people seek to understand what they don't agree with. Yeah, Rabbi Micah.
Yeah, so I'm struggling a little bit with this text because of the notion of majority. So the problem, the great thing about it is that it argues that there can be multiple truths, different there. You could argue it 49 ways each way, which means that there's not absolute truth necessarily held in the hands of any one group. The challenge with it is the idea of tyranny of the majority, that if the answer is whoever wins is right, then where's the safeguard for those who didn't win, which is of course one of the problems that we're facing in democracy today. And so it seems to me, the rabbis weren't stupid and they knew that, right? And so it seems to me that this must be trying to make an argument that is about the notion of truth, the notion that there can be multiple truths, that, votes change from time to time. What was pure can become impure. What was impure can become pure based on how people understand what is handed down to them and the needs of any given moment.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Look, this I'm squishing a long conversation into a short period of time, and really, this is a curriculum. This is a 7-part curriculum on Judaism and conflict transformation that you're just getting a little bit of a sample of. But right. What is our quest? What is at stake in our quest for the truth? I think is part of what you're getting at. And what are the implications for when we move in one direction and leave certain people behind. Yeah, so I want to talk about the number 49. What is that? What does it spark for you? Where have you heard that number before? Open it. Anybody? Like where in Judaism might you've heard the number 49? Or 50. You have 49 or 50. You can just come off mute. No. Well, I mean, I think about it with just the last holiday we had, the last major holiday, Shavuot. It was the 50th day after, and there was a counting period, the period of the Omer, between the second day of Passover and Shavuot. There were 49 days in the middle, and we counted, so 7 weeks of 7. There's like a big preparation process between Pesach and Shavuot that's biblically mandated, and it's like there's this, and then 50 is like completion. 50 is like totality, right? So 49 is the process of moving from the story of Passover, right? Like getting our freedom, getting out of Egypt, and journeying to the Mount Sinai, where we're going to receive the Torah. And so 49 of those is what it takes to get there. And then 50, the 50th day, that's completion. We've got there, we're ready to receive the Torah. At least in our annual year cycle. It probably took longer in the actual story itself. But right. 50 connotates perfection in Judaism, absolute truth. I'm sorry, there's a little bit of a siren going on outside my house. Hopefully it's not too loud. Yeah, 50 is perfection. There's other 50s in Judaism as well. Okay, but I just want to but this text is called Memtet, which literally means 49, 49. It's 49 versus 49. Nobody has 50. Nobody has the full truth. Nobody has a monopoly on everything. I have my 49 reasons. You have your 49 reasons when we're in conversation. So 49, my 49 is my narrative, and the other 49 is your narrative. And so what I think they're saying, and I'll be curious to get your thoughts. I'll just kind of finish up in like a minute or two. When we engage in a 49-49 conversation, we're admitting that we don't have the full truth, and we're hungry to learn what someone else's perspective is. We're curious to learn. When we engage in a 50-0 conversation, I'm saying I got the truth, you got nothing. Even if we're like speaking words like we're talking back past each other. You think you have all 50, I think I have all 50. It's so we come with a million examples of how this is happening today in the world. There's a lot of reasons why I'm right, but there's a possibility. There's that one. I might have 49 reasons why I think I'm right, but there's that one possibility that there's a whole nother way to look at this that could change everything. So I want to take the last 5 minutes to just kind of this is the beginning. This is one of the central rabbinic tools that kind of gets to the idea of arguing for the sake of heaven. And I wanted to just sort of get your impressions and like, do you buy it? Do you struggle with it? Is it like pie in the sky kind of idea, or is there something valuable there?
And feel free to raise hands so we can see who has a comment. And while people are raising hands, Reb Ezra, I'll just point out that in the chat, there are a couple of comments. Alfred pointed out that there are 7 cycles of 7 leading to the Jubilee year. So Jubilee year is also another one of those 50s.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And now I see Bob's hand. Not to jump in, but I see Bob's hand.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, a large part of the reason that I participate in this and other online things that Rabbi Streifer does is because it's a place where there is room for discussion and there is room for listening to each other and going back and forth. And unfortunately, outside in the world at large, there ain't very much of that. That's all.
Absolutely. No, you really feel it more than even, more today, I think, than other years. Yeah. And yet, like, I believe that the world operates in cycles or spirals, and we can get back to this. It's in our, sometimes people that don't like each other, they have a common enemy that will kind of unite them. We see that happen a lot. But I want to hear from other people. Yeah. I see Rick. I was reading right. Okay, great.
I think I see Alfred's hand up. tell me if I
Yeah.
was wrong. And then I see Vicky's hand up also.
Great.
Well, I think that um, in order to, I think there's work to do before you're willing to listen. You have to really listen and not just listen to respond without really listening. So, I mean, it's a lot of skill involved in actually implementing this kind of, the rabbis did, you know, have some conflict but one has to listen to the other person, really listen, and have somebody who's willing to listen to them. So, and a lot of that doesn't go on. So,
Yeah.
be it divorce, be it, anything else.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a skill. There's really work that goes into this. If you don't do the work, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
It made me think of something. Oh, no, I see Susan. Go ahead, Susan. And Susan, you're on mute. You'll have to unmute there.
I'm always interested in the numbers. This is a fascinating conversation. I wish we could go on with it all afternoon. But just looking at the numbers, 7 is the number of creation, 7 days of creation. 7 appears a lot. 7 sevens are 49. So I'm just seeing that creation in the image of truth being connected.
good. Do you want to say something, Rabbi Micah?
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, Susan, go ahead. Did you have another comment?
No, that was really all. I'm always looking at where the numbers, appear and reappear as far as the majority rule. I've struggled with that. Maybe because of the political situation we're in now, the majority could think Trump is what this country needs. So,
My very brief thought was just, you said something interesting a minute ago about a common enemy. And I was thinking, what's the common enemy? The common enemy in some ways is extremism or hatred or unwillingness to listen, right? It's the difference between seeing the person on the other side of the border or table or aisle as the enemy and understanding that you have something to learn from each other and that the unwillingness to learn from each other is the common enemy.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the opposite. It's something the opposite of a constructive approach to conflict. We call it, there's actually a day in the Jewish calendar, the 7th of Adar, which is called the day of constructive conflict. I could tell you more about that another time, but the opposite of constructive conflict is kind of just writing people off, just assuming your truth is true and whatever, and it's they're not even worth being in a relationship with or talking to or understanding. And that's sort of the in some ways it's so hard. We're living in a world where you're encouraged to just be in your bubble and not talk to people outside of your comfort zone. And I think the Jewish tradition is saying that's not the way forward. To learn how to disagree with love is the greatest tool we have, one of the greatest tools we have that like the world needs. And so I bless us all that we find new energy to disagree with respect, curiosity, hunger to understand.
Amen. And let me say thank you to Rabbi Ezra Weinberg for this really interesting class. Thank you to everybody for your participation. Somebody said in the chat we should have more discussion about this, how to disagree. And I will just mention that that's coming. We have I'm hoping, I am working right now on a class series later this year about social justice, and part of that will be about how do we disagree and how do we build a just society. So stay tuned for more information about that, which is coming later in the year. I want to thank Rabbi Ezra Weinberg. I want to thank all of you. Next week, we are meeting with Rabbi Stacy Peterson to learn from her. And then just a word of a quick calendar note that we will take most of August off. And then we'll be back in the fall with a continuation of this series. So thank you, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.